If your doctor or midwife cleared you at 6 weeks and told you you're good to go, I need you to watch this video because that timeline was not built around your physiology. It was built around convenience, convenience for the provider. What's up, y'all? I am Dr. Lindsay Matthews Cantu. I am a chiropractor, a birth doula, a strength and conditioning coach, and a wife and a mother. I've been in this space, in the wellness space, in the women's health space, specifically the motherhood transition space, for 12 plus years. I started BirthFit in 2013 because there was such a gap that needed filling. I've seen so many cases. I've seen all sides as a birth doula and a strength coach. And that 6 week timeline saying you're cleared for sex and exercise means nothing. So let's chat a little bit more about it. The 6 week visit is literally somebody just checking your uterus, the position of it, the involution, what's going on with any more, if there's any contractions of it, has it shrunk down in size? The average woman, the average uterus size takes about 6 weeks to shrink back down to the average uterus size. So that's literally, I think, where that started from. Um, if you have an incision, your provider will check that. They don't ask really anything else. They don't cover core health, pelvic floor health. Has your nervous system integrated from having a baby? There's usually no labs, no blood tests checking hormones, anything like that. There's no lifestyle check-in. And for those of you that know BirthFit, you know that we have a 7 pillar framework, lifestyle medicine, sun, sleep, fitness, nourishment, mindset, community, and spirit. Nobody checks in on those at that 6 week postpartum visit. And I think that's missing a lot. So I literally just got off our office hours call where the BirthFit community can come and ask all types of questions. And one mom just had her baby 4 weeks ago, and she's a coach. And she was like, I'm so glad I went through this experience because she had her baby at home. She had a beautiful birth experience. She's like, I felt so good. And yes, I know the lie, I know to lie in, I know to recover, I know to do all that, but I felt so good. So on like day 5, 6, 7, she started doing more because she felt good and her bleeding increased. And she finally had somebody come over do some body work that was scheduled at the end of the week. And that body worker reminded her, hey, are you taking your rest period? Are you lying in? And she was like, oh my gosh, I preach this all the time. I know I need to do that. When you rush the timeline, you're putting so much more of a demand, not just like a weight-bearing physical demand on your pelvis, your connective tissue, all of that, but also your nervous system and the emotional mental load that you're carrying. Your nervous system needs time to integrate. All mammals need time to integrate from a huge expansion that they went through. When birth calls you into the biggest expansion of your life, your range of motion of your nervous system has been challenged, has been expanded to the biggest bubble that it is. And we need to integrate back into this world, this crazy world we live in, y'all. And we need time. It takes time. So if you rush it, this is where I see things like prolapse come in. Um, Diastasis doesn't quite resolve, but more importantly, new things like urinary incontinence, some sort of, I said, bladder infection, kidney infection, some sort of infection or burnout, some like because your body is literally burned out. Your nervous system is going to be fried if you ask too much of it. That's what I see show up. That's uh so slow down. Slow down. Um, when we start to return to movement, to fitness, it's slow, and it's intentional. One of my favorite mantras for this postpartum chapter, for this fourth trimester, is slow is fast. We have a great podcast, and let me tell you the name of it. I recorded this earlier if you want to have this podcast to share. Um, it's all about the postpartum fitness triangle. So if I want you to visualize a triangle, and it's podcast episode 260, and it was published on February 10th. But if you're looking at the base of the triangle, that is the recovery. That is your line in. That is what you have to do. That is where you treat nourishment and rest like it's your training, like it's your job. The next rung up is the rehab, and that is the BirthFit basics. This is the foundational movements that every human being should be able to do. But these are the movements we start with. BirthFit basics are 15 movements and poses that are based on developmental kinesiology and literally basic human movement. If you watch a baby move, they know exactly how to do these movements. They learn innately how to do these movements throughout their first 12 to 15 months of life. We've got recovery, we got rehab, and on top of that is the rebuilding. And that is where the postpartum training program comes into place. So only after we honor a lie-in period for 4 weeks, and then we do the BirthFit basics for 4 weeks, do we start general strength and conditioning focused on the postpartum woman's body. And that is through the postpartum training program. This program is 12 weeks long with a minimum of 3 training days a week. And think about progressive overload, strictly strength, single-sided work, tempo work. And around 12 weeks, we start to introduce more of dynamic movement, a little bit of running, a little more high intensity sections. And now we're starting to challenge our system, challenge our body, see where our ceiling is, see where the threshold is. And that gives us feedback. And we go from there, honestly. Once we do the rebuilding for that general strength and conditioning, then at the peak of that triangle is the return to sport. Whether that's running, cycling, volleyball, soccer, swimming, whatever it is you do, CrossFit, Orange Theory, High Rocks, any of that. Y'all, that is a sport. And you've got to have a general physical foundation set before you start training in that sport of choice. So, as you can see, this is a lot different than a 6 week timeline. If you want to understand your body and what your body actually needs postpartum, not what the medical system tells you, I built resources specifically for this. The postpartum basics program. If you're pregnant, you could grab the prenatal and the postpartum basics bundle. That's 197. Or you could just grab the postpartum basics program, or you could grab the entire BirthFit postpartum package, which includes the lie-in program, the BirthFit basics, and the postpartum training program. So I want you to be intentional with your fourth trimester, with your first year postpartum, because if you take it too fast, I promise you your health and your training will suffer. Slow is fast, and I promise you, you will be a stronger, faster, harder version of yourself. You will be more adaptable, more resilient, more nourished. And as women, as mothers, we are the metabolic metronome of our families. So you've got to take care of yourself intentionally.